Hey, Brendan here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk 2025 wide receivers. Today, I'm going to be joined by Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co host, and we're going to take an in depth look at the 2025 wide receiver class. All right, we're going to give you our top 10 currently. We are in the first week of November. I believe we're through week 10 of college football. So, we're going to give you our top 10 currently on our big boards. And then we're going to just, dig into the class with some burning questions, right? How deep is this class? Is it top heavy or is there a lot of depth? How does it compare to the 2024 draft class? How many of these guys are actually going to be able to be wide receiver ones, not only on their teams, but on our dynasty rosters as well? Are some guys going to go back to school? We always have those surprises every year. And I did a show just like this for the quarterbacks and running backs. So go check those shows out. So if you play Dynasty Fantasy, hit that subscribe button. This channel is dedicated to helping you get prepared for your upcoming rookie drafts, not just the 2025 draft, but the 2026 and 2027 drafts as well. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get to the show. All right, Jason, let's get to our wide receiver position, our 2025 big board wide receiver boards here. We're going to talk about our top 10 receivers. I'm looking at the boards right now. It looks like we've got some different players to discuss as we get past number 5 and 6, which ought to be fun. So why don't you tell the good folks your just run through your top 10. Not you have to get into like detail or depth, but like where you are with your top 10.
I'll just kick it off. So I got Ted McMillan at number one, Travis Hunter, assuming he is a wide receiver at the next level at number two, Luther Burden at wide receiver three, Isaiah Bond at four, Trey Harris at five, Emeka Buka six, Xavier Restrepo, big riser for me at seven, Kyron Lacey at eight, Tay Felton at a Maryland at nine, and Evan Stewart at 10.
All right. So I like it. I like it. So I think we have the first 6 similar, but my list is a little bit different. All right. I got Travis Hunter again, assuming he goes as a wide receiver. He is just so twitchy and that space creation. I like if I hope he's 6'1", so I hope he doesn't come in at 5'11, but Travis Hunter, to me, I think is the best route runner and space creator of the group. I got him at number one, Ted McMillan, number two, Luther Burden, number three. So then I've got Emeka Egbuka at number four, Trey Harris at number five, Isaiah Bond at number six. And I got a little bit of a flyer. I got a little man crush going on right now on Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. I just put a film out on the YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about him a little later, so I'm not going to get in depth with him. Ja'Corey Brooks, I watched his last 2 games, and I really like what I see with Ja'Corey Brooks. He is another one. Now, you brought him to the table a little bit ago.
I think he was a deep dive player of mine.
He was, and I think he is continuing. I like his size at 6'3", 195 pounds. So he comes in at number 8 for me. Xavier Restrepo, I think he just set the Miami record.
He did
for receiving yards. Another monster game, man. 3 touchdowns. He had over 200 yards or some crazy.
Mr. Consistent, man.
Mr. Consistent, right? 5'10", 198. And I got Alec Manor right now. So the guy left off this list, probably most people are like, wow, Evan Stewart. I know he is Flash Dargan, but I just his size and everything, he's never had more than 600 yards, I don't think, in any season in college. And I just don't know how productive he is going to be. I know he was at Texas A&M for a couple of years, but we're going to talk about him a little bit because we're going to do now. We've got, some questions. So we got some burning questions about this class. All right. On what we think of the class overall. So my question to you, Jason, is, how many of these players do you think have the ability? Well, first off, let's do this. Comparing this class to last year's class, do you overall depth, is it top heavy? Is it kind of, last year's class was really good at the top. I think if you're looking, there's a lot of projection and a lot of hope for a lot of players. They have yet to kind of emerge, but it's still early. So how does this class compare to last year's class?
This is a good class, but I don't think we have that premier blue chip type that everybody's assuming. Like, I think Tet might be that guy. I think Travis Hunter could be that guy. I think Luther Burden is a very good receiver, but he to me is just not up there with Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Ted McMillan's just built differently. He's got that Drake London ability, and I seeing what Drake London's doing this year with Kirk Cousins, I could see a very similar path for him. So I think maybe Travis Hunter and Tet would be the two I feel the best about, but I'm not even sure if they equal out to a Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't have that great of a game last week, but he's been setting it off. I think those two are premier, and Roma Dunze is unbelievable. Like he had a great game this last weekend too. I just it's hard comparison, but Tet and Travis Hunter I feel the best about.
Yeah. So do you think they would still be a tier down below those three? Do you think?
It's cutting it close. I think Tet and Hunter would fall in the same tier where I had Rome, and I had Rome wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I had Rome wide receiver 3. I think they were the most for most people. They were the 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, I
either
would think so.
Harrison, Neighbors, and clearly wide receiver 1s for their team. And I expect Rome Odunze to grow into that wide receiver 1 role right now, even with DJ Moore there.
He already looks it.
Yeah, he already looks it. So, of these players, given kind of piggybacking off that question, how many wide receiver 1s do you see in this class that are going to be drafted by a team that are going to be expected to take the torch for the wide receiver room? I think McMillan and Hunter, just kind of like you said, might have the ability. I'm not sure anybody else has the ability to come in and be the wide receiver 1. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if any, I agree. Tet and Hunter would be the wide receiver 1s for me. Berther has the potential. I just haven't. Luther Burden has the potential. I just haven't really seen enough, and that's probably not his fault. Missouri hasn't really showcased him as much as I would like. I think Trey Harris has the potential to possibly elevate and be a wide receiver 1, depending upon landing spot, based on what I've seen him do at Ole Miss. He looks pretty special when he is healthy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's funny you said that because he was, we weren't sharing any kind of notes here on the screen either. I was going to say him. I watch him and he reminds me of Rashee Rice when I watch Trey Harris.
That's exactly who he reminds me of.
Yeah.
No joke, just his play style, everything.
And I loved Rashee Rice.
Yeah, you did. You were really high on him. You nailed
that. But I soured on him if I'm going to be fair. I kind of soured on him right before the draft because I just didn't see that twitchy route running. So anyway, Trey Harris is
when you land the Chiefs, anything is possible, right? So
yeah, there you go. But it'll be interesting when he comes back and if Worthy develops, if he ends up being that wide receiver 1 for Kansas City. So another burning question. How many of these wide receivers do you believe get first round draft capital? Now, a little bit of history. In 2024, last year, we had 7 wide receivers drafted. We had Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, Leggett. I think Pearsall and Leggett were kind of, they were kind of shockers, I think. I think we liked them as players. But they were like, wow, round 1 draft capital. That's incredible. In 2023, we only had 4 wide receivers drafted. So out of this bunch, if you had to guess off our list, now our top 6 are pretty much the same.
They are.
Do you think they all 6 get round 1 draft capital, or what are your thoughts?
You know what? I can see a path where all 6 do. Like Bond to me is a first round talent. I've seen enough of him. I feel good. Like he's more of a back end, like 20 to 32 range type of receiver that can go in the first round. Mecca is probably a middle to late. Luther Burden's middle to late. Tet, I think, is a top 15. Hunter's top 10, top 5 as a corner. I think Trey Harris is the one I'm not too sure how he's being valued, but I see a first round talent, like a back end first round talent.
Yeah, so I'm preparing. We're going to do a rookie mock draft here on the channel soon. And Trey Harris did get first round draft capital in that particular mock. So from drafttech.com. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I kind of see that. I think there could be 5 to 6 in the first round.
I think 5 to 6 is probably safe. Now it could someone could slide in there. I mean, dude, who knows how the NFL is going to view Xavier Restrepo. Maybe he's that sneaky back end guy if the combine goes well and he has a Lad McConkey type of NFL draft process. Like he could be that. There's always going to be one guy that surprises us. That's probably not one that we're thinking of right now.
Yeah, I guess you could consider Coleman and McConkey round ones because they were picked first and second in the second round. So they were
Right. So right on the
pretty,
borderline there.
right on the
Yeah.
borderline. So, all right, let's flip the script now and go and see. Are there any surprises? Are there any players that you think go back to school and surprise? And I had mentioned his name earlier, Evan Stewart. I
Mhm.
could see possibly Evan Stewart coming back for his senior year. And let's not forget, Roma Dunze came back, right? I mean, we've had
He did.
plenty of players. Ibuka is a senior this year. He kind of shocked last year. It had a down year with his foot injury last year. Came back,
Yeah.
has better tape now in 2024. And you see any players that are going to be, that you think could? I'm looking at my whole list here on
Yeah,
the
I'm starting to
board.
look at the whole list too. I think Alec Aomanor, just based on the season, that's a
Mhm.
possibility that he goes back. Um, I think you hit it with Stewart. He could possibly go back. Kyron Lacey could possibly go back if Garrett Nussmeier stays and they feel like they could have the opportunity to win a championship, and that does not happen this year. I could see Kyron Lacey going back with his quarterback. Um, I mean, those are probably the ones I feel the best about, and maybe Dane Key, who I really like, could possibly go back to depending upon how, he's
Yeah,
viewed by the
Kentucky.
NFL. I love the kid, but
Yeah, well,
it
I
really
got
just
him number
depends.
12. He's not far out of my top 10.
Yeah, I got him at 11.
Yeah,
So,
you've been pounding the table for, Dane Key, and I love his length and physicality and everything,
yeah.
so I like that call a lot, so all right, let's talk about landing spots. All right, so we know in the first round, looking at the first round, man, there's a lot of teams in the first round that need quarterbacks desperately, so hopefully some of these wide receivers kind of fall to some better teams with some better quarterbacks.
Right.
I don't know. I'm thinking New England. I'd love to see, Ted McMillan maybe go to New England. I mean, Drake May, they got to get him. It'd probably be not a great situation for a little bit of time, only
I
because,
don't know. I think
you
it
know,
might be from what I've seen from Drake London, Drake May, and knowing that there's really not a primary receiver right now. Tech could slide right in, just like Marvin Harrison did with Kyler Murray. I mean, it could
mhm.
just be a smooth transition. He's immediately the wide receiver one, and we're talking about him like we are Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors production wise in fantasy year one.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati would be a great spot, especially if T. Higgins moves on.
If T Higgins
Washington,
moves on, yeah.
opposite side of Scary Terry. I still think they need a wide receiver two on that team. I think Kansas City is still probably a decent spot, even though they've got Rice and Worthy. Who knows? Rice comes back from the injury, and I think the Chargers are a nice spot.
Chargers are a great spot, and that could be a really good one. I mean, think about the combination of having Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and what if you add in Luther Burden, get that yak ability from him and
Mhm.
Lad? Like that's a deadly combination right there.
Yes, I was thinking to say Pittsburgh, but they got QB problems on the horizon. I don't think they really know what they want to do in there. So
I don't think so either. Yeah, they need, but I don't know if I'd feel good about any receiver that goes there right now.
yeah, so the question
Unfortunately,
is how many starting, the consistent dynasty assets, are we going to get out of this class? I think we got we got you know 6, 7, 8 guys that we're going to be able to pluck out of our rookie drafts next year that are going to be consistent fantasy,
yeah.
contributors. Last year in round 2, we had like Jalen Polk, Jermaine Burton in round 3, Roman Wilson, Jalen McMillan, Luke McCaffrey, Troy Franklin, Javon Baker, all round
Oh my
3,
god,
4.
all those
So
hype guys too, man. All the
yeah,
ones
all the
that we
guys
were
that are
like,
hyped and
yeah,
they're just not
yeah.
getting out there. Oh,
It's just
Malachi
not
Corley
happening.
too. Oh my goodness, the Jets
Oh,
move up in the
Corley
3rd round to get the guy, and then they don't even use him, and then the dumbass drops the ball running into the end zone
drops the
last week.
ball. Corley. No.
Corey making me look bad over here. So, any other thoughts on
Me
the
too.
wide receiver class for 2025?
Uh, you know what? I had one question on here that I added right at the end. Not
Hmm.
not just the lessons that I'm trying to take away from some of the misses. Like Brian Thomas, was a lot lower on than consensus just based on his 1 year ability. I didn't see a lot of, release arsenal from him. And
Mhm.
then even at the catch point, I didn't see a lot of fighting through that contact. I just saw a guy who was a very good contortionist, had the speed. Uh, I undervalued that. So I think what I'm trying to do is learn from some of those mistakes and also not get caught up in some of the overhype, kind of like some of the guys we just talked about and being true to my process.
Mhm.
Um, I think there's guys like Antonio Williams that we haven't really had a chance to discuss. Elijah Badger that's been showing a lot this year. I think there's a lot of guys that are coming on. Tay Felton could be that Jaden Reed that I didn't jump on board with everybody else, even though he went in the early or mid second round. Like
That's a good point.
I think for me, I'm going to start looking at the guys I missed on from this year, even though it's just year one. But I want to look at that and say, what was it about them that I just didn't catch up on that other people did, and try not to miss out on those because I think there could be some gems in this
Oh,
class
yeah.
because I
Oh,
think it
there's
is pretty deep.
yeah, I think it's a deep class too. I would agree with you. I think there's
Yeah.
gonna be guys that emerge. So, I like it. So, all right, man, good discussion on the wide receivers for 2025.